following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee. It's time for another Casey's Take on Sports. This week, Casey reflects on the big game in L.A. Now with a man who always has a take, sports reporter for the Dickson County Post and the Cheatham County Exchange, here's Casey Patrick.
Good morning. How are y'all doing? Hope everybody's doing well. I know if you're a Rams fan, you're probably still doing great. And, today's episode is going to be all about the Super Bowl. We're going to talk. First take's going to be about the Super Bowl itself. Second take, we're going to talk about the commercials because I love some of those commercials. Third take, we're going to talk about the halftime show because that was a good halftime show. Fourth take, high school sports. Y'all know how this goes. Stick around. We'll be here. I had tweeted out, let's see, I think it was yesterday or it was right before the game. I can't know. Maybe it was a day before the game. I can't remember. It's too long ago now. But I had tweeted out that this game, it was two fresh faces at quarterback. We had some teams that we hadn't seen. I mean, the Rams were there a few years ago. But I think we all know that that's a different Rams team. But it was a new experience. I don't think I was the only one that had kind of gotten tired of seeing Mahomes and Brady. And, congratulations to those guys and what they've done. But this was a whole new opportunity to see some new teams and some new people in the Super Bowl. And honestly, the only thing as a fan of football that didn't have a dog in the fight, I didn't really care who won, but I wanted to see a good game. And just like the rest of the playoffs, I mean, it's a 3-point game at the end. It come down to the final drive and the final minute. What more can you ask for? Now the game itself kind of went how I expected it to. There wasn't quite as much offensive flair as I think I would have expected. And you got to really tip your cap to the Cincinnati defense for that. I knew the Rams defense was going to be good simply because the Cincinnati offensive line is abysmal. I mean, it's not very good. And just, I think everybody knew that. But what people may not have known going into that game was that Cincinnati's defense had played pretty good. I mean, they have been pretty good throughout the entire playoffs, and especially over the last half of this season. Sam Hubbard and Logan Wilson and Jesse Bates. And Jesse Bates didn't really have a great year, but he's one of their better players. But, I mean, they had a lot of guys on that defense that had really stepped up, and I thought their defense played a magnificent game. Jamar Chase, who he was relatively quiet. What did he end with? 89 catches on 5 yards, but that the one-handed catch was nuts. Higgins, the East Tennessee guy, he had 100 yards on 4 catches with 2 touchdowns. That's a pretty good Super Bowl, and good for him. I believe the Oak Ridge High School native. I enjoyed the game. I really did. Burrow was sacked 7 times, threw for 263 yards, completed 2/3 of his passes. That kid's nuts. I wish Joe Burrow was my quarterback. But the game kind of went how we all expected, right? I mean, it was it was Joe Burrow running around making plays. Those Bengals receivers were, catching the ball here and there. The Rams were moving the ball. When Odell Beckham got hurt, I legitimately felt bad for him because for the Rams, he was not a distraction. He was an effective part of their offense. And you saw it. If you watched that game, you saw how much their offense changed after he got hurt. He more or less had to force feed Cooper Kupp, and he had to look at other people while he was throwing the ball to Cooper Kupp. I don't know if some of y'all have seen the clip now of Matthew Stafford's no look pass, but they had to force feed him with Odell Beckham out, and nobody else is really a weapon in that passing game. Because, of course, Robert Woods got hurt earlier in the year, and then they brought in Odell, and Odell had really started to shine. And it was Cooper Kupp. And hey, shout out to Bryson Hopkins. I hope I said his name correctly. Of course, the son of Brad Hopkins, the old Tennessee Titan offensive lineman. And I thought he had a really good day. But it's a Super Bowl. You need people to show up and make a few plays like that. And what did he end up with? Hopkins. He had 4 catches for 47 yards. One of the biggest games of his life, and he had one of the best performances of his season. So I love, and the Van Jefferson story too. Of course, his wife goes into labor around halftime. There was a tweet, and I don't know if this is true or not, but there was a tweet where she left the stadium in a stretcher, only because she had gone into labor. And Van Jefferson wins the Super Bowl. Hours later, he's holding his newborn baby child. What a day! What a day for that guy. And of course, the Ravenwood, I believe, is where he went to school. So, a lot of Tennessee ties into that game, but Van Jefferson had a great day, and you see some of these stats, and you go back, and it's the last football game of the year, but man, it was a good one, and it capped off the playoffs that I thought. This may have been the best playoffs I've ever seen. Quite honestly, everything was close. A lot of field goals, some overtime games. And when I say field goals, I mean at the end of the game to win. But 23-20, the Rams are your Super Bowl champions. Matthew Stafford finally got him a ring. You know what? Good for him. I know there are a few Tennessee fans that are probably barking at me because he went to Georgia, and I'm just happy for the guy. He spent 12 years in Detroit where they didn't like winning because they fired Caldwell after going to the playoffs for the first time since I think Jimmy Carter was president, but that's whatever. But they finally had an opportunity to do something, and like I said, they fired Caldwell. The Lions have never liked winning, I suppose. So the fact that Stafford was able to get out of Detroit, go somewhere, and make something happen, good for him. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Aaron Donald. I don't know if he's going to retire. They talked about him retiring, but I don't know if he's going to retire. But I'm happy for him. I'm happy for a lot of the people on that team. But it was a good game, and it kind of went the way we all expected it to. There at the end, it came down to one play. The third down play to run the ball by Zach Taylor, I don't hate that call. The problem is they ran it right at Aaron Donald, and that's why they didn't get the first down. And then that's why you have 4th and short. And if you watch the video from behind the play, on that 4th down, Jamar Chase had Jalen Ramsey beat for a touchdown. But if you ain't got no time, you ain't got no time. And Aaron Donald was in his face immediately. That kind of, it all kind of lines up. It kind of went the way we expected it to. It kind of went the way I expected it to. But either way, I thought it was a fantastic conclusion to the end of the season between two pretty good teams. And I thought it was a really good game. And now for the next take, we're going to get into the commercials because I'm super excited to talk about some of those. Stick around. JP, the voice you hear at the beginning of the show, JP sent me an email and he asked me to join the stream thing, and I joined it, and he asked me what we were going to talk about, and I told him, I said Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, but I wanted to go game, commercial, halftime show. And I wanted to talk about some of the commercials because, quite frankly, nothing else to me in sports is really all that important over what's happened the last few weeks, or last week anyway. Basketball is just in the middle of the grind. Baseball, still adults aren't talking to each other. So my whole thought was, I thought, you know what can I talk about? And I wanted to talk about the commercials because I thought last night the commercials, especially the first half of the football game, I thought they were really good. You got, and I don't, I'm a nerd. So whenever I get to see a new Marvel commercial, this is the second week in a row I have slapped. Look, I have a light right here. It's the second week in a row I have slapped it. I mean, just pow. But since I'm a nerd, I like watching the new Marvel cinematic trailers when they come out. My favorite commercial, though, and I'm sure most of you saw it, was the NFL commercial where it had the football players that popped out of the TV. And of course, Derrick Henry stiff arms prime time. I thought that was neat. I thought that was cool and fun to watch. And somebody tweeted out that they thought that was an advertisement for the next NFL Street video game, which actually makes a lot of sense after you think about it. But I felt like the commercials were overall really good. And here's my point to all of this. I really, really enjoyed the game, the commercials, and the halftime show. As far as a full experience, a 5-hour experience or 6, however long you sat there and watched it. I think I probably sat on the couch. I went to my biological father's house, and I sat on his couch from probably 4 until 10 o'clock. And I got to see everything that the Super Bowl brings, right? I mean, you got the commercials and they walk out all the old people and they talk about that all the old people that have played in the game before, the coaches or whatever. And then they have all the gold jacket, the Hall of Famers walking around. I thought for a 6-hour experience, 5-hour experience, however long I sat there and watched the TV, I thought that was one of the more enjoyable Super Bowls that I had seen. A lot of that has to do with, I felt like the last few years, and I'm being serious here, the last few years, the quality of the commercials were awful. They were really, really bad. Now, last year, I don't remember much about the Super Bowl. I remember watching a little bit at the end. But in the years before that, the commercials were just boring. God, they were awful and just, I don't know, not very good. And, people just spending money to put their name on stuff. This year, another one of my favorite commercials, I felt like there was one for, I want to say it was Coinbase.com. And it was early in the game, and there was just a QR code. It was a black screen with a neon QR code that was like jumping around the screen. And, for anybody that doesn't know what a QR code, or maybe it's going to sound awful, but older people that don't know what they're looking at when a QR code jumps up, they probably didn't know what was going on. But I knew. I took out my phone immediately. I was like, I got to see what this is. And I pulled it up, and it was for some kind of crypto stuff. Now, that's another thing. I'm young, and I like computers, and I'm a prototypical nerd, and I'm still out on crypto. I don't know much about that stuff, but it got me to look at their internet site, and I mean that's the key of an advertisement, right? I felt like a lot of them were cool. I felt like a lot of them were different. And still, though, I will say I'm pretty sure my favorite Super Bowl commercial of all time has got to be, I think it was Volkswagen, right? And there's a young man, I believe it's a young man, very, very, very young, in a, what is he wearing? It was a Darth Vader costume, and he's trying to make, he's trying to use the Force, right? And I think you can see the mother or the father in the kitchen, and they do the push to start, and the car starts up right after young Darth Vader, and he starts freaking out. I still feel like that's probably one of my favorite Super Bowl commercials. But man, there were some really good ones Sunday, and I just felt like the overall production, the experience, was one that I'm going to remember. I thought it was really good. I felt like the game was good. Like I said, and I'm going to keep saying that because it hadn't really been all that good to watch the last few years. I don't really care much for the halftime shows and some of the other stuff that we've had. And here's the thing. It's hard to make everybody happy, and I get that. I'm talking about me, though. I'm being very selfish. I'm talking about me. This is my show. I enjoyed it. I liked it. And now we're going to get to my favorite part of the entire Super Bowl. It was the halftime show. That's coming up next. Now, I've seen Michael Jackson. Of course, everybody remembers Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake, the Rolling Stones, The Who, Maroon 5. They had a Super Bowl in Atlanta, and they had Maroon 5. And out of all the artists in Atlanta, and they had Maroon 5. Nothing against Maroon 5. I like them, but there have been some halftime shows that maybe weren't as popular as this one. Some that may be more popular. I'm just going to tell you right now, Prince playing Purple Rain as it actually rains all week long. All week long in Miami, they had done the forecast and said it's not going to rain. It's going to be perfect weather. We've got the Super Bowl. It's not going to rain. It's going to be great. As soon as halftime starts to roll around, I watched the little mini documentary they did on YouTube. It's like a 15 minute documentary, and you need to see it. They talk about Prince in this halftime show. It was not supposed to rain. Nobody saw a cloud in sight. And as soon as Prince gets ready to take the stage at halftime, there's a little bitty cloud comes out of nowhere. And wouldn't you know it, it was as if Prince himself actually made it rain. And it starts raining, and he's on a glass stage, and he's just rocking out Purple. I'm not going to try and sing because I can't sing, but you all know the song. And if you saw that performance, you saw how good that performance was. And that is still, in my mind, the greatest halftime performance of all time. But Sunday, let me explain something to y'all. I grew up listening to that music. Now, I listen to some other stuff. Don't get me wrong. My mother was a big fan of the Eagles. She loved Prince. She loved Bob Seger. My dad liked Aerosmith. That's the only song that Living on the Edge by Aerosmith is the only song that I ever heard him sing out loud. And I think I got a lot from them, from my parents, as far as what kind of music I like. And don't get me wrong, I do. It's still, if you look at my Spotify playlist now, you'll see a lot of Bob Seger and the Eagles, but there's some Dr. Dre on there too. A little bit of Eminem, a lot of Snoop. I got Mary J. Blige too, and of course 50 Cent. Now here's the thing: 50 Cent come in hanging upside down, and a lot of people was like, "What is he doing?" Y'all apparently don't remember. That's how he did the original video, "Party Like It's Your Birthday." I don't know what the name of that song is, but everybody just knows, "Party Like It's Your Birthday." And in the actual video from 20, 25 years ago now, he's actually upside down in that video. Now, what I don't like is the whole internet shaming 50, talking like it said he's not 50 Cent anymore. He's a whole dollar now. They're making fat jokes and stuff. Man, that dude's in pretty good shape considering he's been shot. He's at least 50 years old. I mean, he might not be 50. Maybe that's a little mean. He's at least 40. I know that for a fact. I don't know how old 50 Cent is. But I felt like he looked all right. He looked pretty good for a dude at his age. I like how the NFL told Eminem he couldn't knee, and he did it anyway. I like how the NFL – Snoop Dogg went up to the NFL and said he wanted to wear somebody – I don't know if this is true, but somebody said that Snoop Dogg wanted to wear a blue handkerchief out of his pants pocket, and they said no, so he just wore a whole blue suit. I like how the artists kind of just did whatever they wanted to. I don't blame them. That music, I felt like that music was really good. I will say there is a pretty common theme among the people. If you go on Twitter or you go on Facebook and you read the comments of people that say worst halftime show ever, they didn't like it, there's a pretty common theme among those people. They're a little bit older, and that's all right. But now, those older folks, they kind of understand what, us younger people. Now, like I said, I like The Who, and I love The Who, and I like the Rolling Stones. I went and saw The Who live. I love older music, don't get me wrong. But as far as a full generation, you've got a lot of people that are now my age that had to watch some of these halftime shows, and they're like, it's not bad. I like it. It's cool, whatever. But Sunday, we were finally able to jam. I mean, like, we were able to rock out. That was the next episode. You can hear the tune, and you know what's coming. You can hear it. Dr. Dre. It was perfect. And over the past few years, it's been one of those things where it's like the halftime show's kind of I'm still not over Maroon 5. I mean, when they picked Maroon 5 to play in Atlanta, it's just ignorant. But whatever, not my problem. But I felt like that show on Sunday, I felt like it was fantastic. I felt like it was really well done. And it was stuff for people my age, maybe a little bit older, maybe a little bit younger. If you didn't like the halftime show, that's great. I don't care. I loved it. I thought it was wonderful. I thought, again, just like everything else that had to do with Sunday and the Super Bowl, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed myself. And that's all I've got for the Super Bowl. We got one more take. We're going to talk some high school sports. Stay here. All right. Last week we had a lot of wrestling. I'm sorry, I've got something in my eye. We had a lot of wrestling. Oh man, Sycamore's got some guys. Coach Steve Hamlin just sent me something last night. And then I was talking to David Forte, the Dickson County coach. The Dickson County's got some wrestlers. I know Creekwood's got some wrestlers. I got to do a better job. Got to get a hold of them and figure out what's going on there. Harpeth and Cheatham they've always got some wrestlers too. It's postseason when it comes to wrestling. Basketball, man. Right now, basketball districts start off this week, I think, for most teams. So I think all teams. Got a lot going on in basketball. Man, there's always a lot going on. Always a lot going on. I just sit here and I'm trying to think of everything. So I know Dickson plays Saturday. Now I know the girls play, I think, at Henry. No. It's at Kenwood. Their entire district tournament's at Kenwood. Dixon's is. I think Dickson plays Henry County. The Dixon's a 3 seed, Henry County's 2 seed. Let's see. Creekwood's going to host both of their games. I'm pretty sure the boys play Portland on Saturday. I can't remember, but Creekwood's going to play 6 and 7:30 for their first round of high school, and then let's see. Harpeth girls play Tuesday night. Man, there's so much to keep up with. Either way, make sure y'all check out next week's Casey's Take because we're going to have more information on what's going on with the district tournament. That's going to be fun. These district tournaments are fun. I just wish I had I'm trying to think, 3 or 4 clones. I think if I had 4, I'd be okay. 4 plus me, so 5 total. To cover, one person to cover every high school that I cover. That would be great, wouldn't it? Let's see. I'm trying to figure out what other, of course, baseball and softball start up in 2 weeks, maybe next week. I mean, there's always, man, it's high school sports. Somebody's always doing something. I saw where Russell Venozzi, one of the guys that works with us at Main Street, he was covering hockey yesterday, which has got to be dope. I think it's really cool. It's just like for me, I'm not a huge fan of hockey, but it's the same with soccer. I'm not a huge fan of soccer as far as watching it on TV. But if I go watch some of the teams that I cover, you can actually you can really get into those games because you kind of get to know these kids and you watch them play other sports, and then you see them out there on the soccer field, and you're like, oh yeah, that kid's a competitor. Young man, young woman, whatever. You see him on a basketball court or maybe the football field, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a good player right there, and you kind of get invested. You want to watch, you want to see what happens. I could only imagine watching some high school hockey would be dope. I bet that's cool. I wonder if the rules are any different. I may have to go out there with Russell and watch one of those games because I wouldn't mind. You're gonna see somebody throw the gloves down, get out there, throw some punches or whatever. Now, I bet hockey would be fun, but we got baseball, softball coming up, men's soccer coming up, track and field coming up. Man, district basketball, these tournaments are nuts. You got all these teams, they're playing all the time. It's everything just go. And then they're going to have region basketball right after that. I think they just had region wrestling for individuals. And I feel like I'm missing something. And that's the awful part about it. You never can get it all. You just can't. Man, it's been a good week though. Oh, I just hit my microphone. I hope y'all had fun with the Super Bowl. Thank y'all for coming by and checking out my show today. You know what? Next week we might talk a little bit of baseball. Hopefully they'll get somewhere with that. But thanks for coming and checking out my show, man. Listen, for real, if you're listening to this show, you got something you want me to talk about. There's the @ CVP51. That's me. Hit me up on Twitter. Send me an idea. Say something. Let's talk about it. Thank y'all for checking out the show. Y'all have a wonderful evening, and I know football's over, but don't let it get you down too bad. It'll be right around the corner. We're going to talk about some draft stuff too. So thank y'all for coming. Y'all have a good evening.
This has been Casey's Take on Sports. Casey covers high school sports for the Dickson Post and Cheatham County Exchange, as well as Main Street Preps. Follow him on Twitter at CVP51 and online at mainstreetpreps.com. Casey's Take on Sports is a production of Main Street Media.